All right, we are rolling, and I'm super excited. I am Jeff Klubeck, author and founder of the Integrity Game, and I'm here. That's how excited I am. I'm tongue twisted excited, right? That's a level of DEF CON something, right? Anyway, I'm here with Joey Centanni, college baseball recruiting counselor, advisor, close friend of mine, and this is special for me. First of all, Joey, thanks for coming on board. What we're going to be doing here is talking about our upcoming book together, Uncommitted. So I've got a bunch of questions for you, but I want to start off by saying that this is special for me because since releasing the original Integrity Game back in 2022, it's a parable, and we'll talk about this story in a minute. Since releasing it, I've been interviewed on like 50 podcasts talking about the Integrity Game, promoting the Integrity Game, delivering Integrity Game keynotes or rapping, coaching or consulting services in Integrity Game packaging and promoting the brand. This is the first time I've ever interviewed somebody else about an Integrity Game related project. So my excitement is hard to contain. Thanks for taking some time to talk to me about our upcoming book, Uncommitted, which we know is a prequel to the Integrity Game. How you doing today?
I'm great. Yeah, this has been a fun project, obviously, for you and I both. And just the idea, yeah, the word integrity, since I met you, right, is kind of how I felt like I tried to live my life prior to reading your book, and now it's become a bigger part of my life. And that's
Hmm.
really what brought this book together, right? Was the idea of your world and my world, right? Worlds are colliding. I'm a Seinfeld fan. Worlds were colliding. The idea of understanding how many families and kids and coaches are going through this baseball recruiting process. And this book is about baseball, but this could go for any sport, right?
Hmm.
How many parents and kids are really struggling with this recruiting process right now is has been frustrating for me because that's my industry. And trying to help as many people as I can has been tough. And to be able to put it in a package with this book has been a blast. And I think that people are going to read this book. We've already obviously had some people read it. And as more and more people read it, they're really gonna, smile. They're gonna laugh. I know we've talked about maybe even shed a tear sometimes because the stories in here are extremely realistic based off of our experiences
Hmm.
and the connections we have, in the baseball world and in the professional world. And it's been a blast.
Yeah, there's it's hard. There's a degree of magic to it that's a little hard to describe. I don't know if it'll come through in the interview, but let me try to set the context a little bit for those people watching that may not know. The Integrity Game is a parable. And what it does is it introduces my 10-point model for soft skill delivery, like coaching, consulting, training. I deliver through a 10-point model. I'm trying to broaden and deepen our understanding of integrity, take the judgment out of it, take the judgmental vibrations out of it, help people look within. And so the story is about a season ticket holder who's kind of based on what I do for a living. He's there at the big league ballpark to see his son, who had just made the big league squad as a rookie. And as he's cheering for the rookie to succeed and get into extra innings and extend the game, there's an uninspired hot dog vendor. And the season ticket holder, first in defense of his son, like, hey, you should cheer for the rookie. But second of all, you seem out of integrity to complain about not making money tonight. And you haven't tried to sell me a hot dog, but you've been standing here for 5 minutes, and they have a little fun little dialogue. By the end of the book, the season ticket holder takes the hot dog vendor through the Integrity Game. And so that I launched this 10-point model into the marketplace using this parable. By the end of the book, the guy's not slinging dogs anymore. But I say all of that just to say this: when you and I decided that we might be able to join forces or bring our worlds together and create something powerful, I had the idea and you've got the content. It was magical when it dawned on me that we could create a prequel. So the kid that makes the big league squad in the Integrity Game, we're going to go back in time and check him out in high school with two of his baseball teammates and follow their different college baseball recruiting journeys. So this is where you and all of your expertise come in, and this is what I want to ask you about. Talk about Uncommitted, college baseball recruiting journeys, and why don't we do a cover reveal while we're at it? So here's the prequel to the Integrity Game, Uncommitted, college baseball recruiting journeys with myself and Joey Centanni. So Joey, pick it up here without ruining the story for anybody. Like, talk about the content of the parable and what do you think about the power of the parable, and what was it like for you to imagine infusing what you do for a living in a made up story with made up characters that are representing real world experience?
Yeah, it was, it's difficult because there's so many different avenues that these families and kids go through in the recruiting process, and so is life, right? And I think ultimately, one of my favorite quotes, very simple, is do things right. Tony Gwynn,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
San Diego State, San Diego Padres, great. Do things right. And ultimately, that's what you want for your kids, right? You
Yeah.
want them to do things the right way. So for, all of the experiences that I have and all of the families that I've worked with and all of the coaches that I've talked to and obviously my past experiences as a player and a coach and a scout, it kind of all meshed in here together. And seeing these kids that go through this path of, doing things the right way and doing things the wrong way. And hey, there's a crazy dad involved. And hey, there's this nutty coach over there. And, who do I trust throughout this process? And
Yeah.
it's all very difficult, right? And I think, going through this process and having the experiences I do in baseball made it a little easier for us to kind of generate a realistic story. But I do tell people that, hey, if my kid grows up to be a soccer player, to be a singer, to be a whatever,
Yeah.
I'm going to need someone that I can really trust to help guide me through that process, right? Just like we all have our mentors, right? Whether
That's right.
they're personal, professional, whatever. I think this book is something that you can put in front of people that are going through that process in the baseball world in particular, and it can really push them in the right direction to understand, all right, maybe this is the path we shouldn't go. Maybe this is the path we should go. And also, I think baseball just relates to life in general, right? I
Yeah.
think the idea of baseball and life is there are so many similarities. It just keeps beating you down over and over again.
Game of
And
failure.
yeah, it's a game of failure. And in life, it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. I'm in San Diego, California. Everybody thinks that we get sunshine 365 days a year. Well, hey, look outside my window and it's pouring right now. And, that's
Yeah.
baseball, right? It's not always
Well,
going to be easy.
well, that's one of the things, I'm going to come back to like the contents or the characters, the avatars of the book. You've touched on it briefly, but based on what you just said, this is one of the things where you and I both speak the same language, right? When from the perspective of the integrity game, what I say a lot in my keynotes is the metaphor or the analogy. We know that a building, a bridge, or a tunnel, right, will collapse under pressure tests without structural integrity, right? And that's just all there is to it. And the integrity game wants us to understand that individuals, teams, or organizations will collapse under pressure tests without structural integrity. But what does that mean from a discipline, a habits, a character, a perspective, a mindset? Yeah, so how do we retrofit ourselves as individuals? How do we withstand the pressure test? So you were talking about, baseball being a great a tool to help us understand life because it's a game of failure and it's a grind and it doesn't get any easier and the challenges keep coming. One of my mentors taught me weeds grow on their own, so we better be ready and we better create the good stuff, like because bad stuff comes unintended, unwanted, other people's agendas, etc. So that's where I get excited because the amount of resilience, the amount of admiration that I have for any Division One athlete, anybody that commits to something and is willing to make the sacrifices, put in the work, be coachable, be on and on and on. I admire it because I didn't have that opportunity. I didn't get that opportunity. I didn't even play Little League. So a lot of this, in a funny way, is me overcompensating for the opportunities I didn't get. And I didn't write the integrity game because I got the most integrity in the world. It's because I want more.
Yeah.
And so my work is a reflection of what I want for myself. I'm inviting the world to play with me. So now I get excited when somebody who I admire and respect like you gets it and like, oh yeah, this integrity thing, I want to plug into that. So that's why this is wildly exciting for me that this project, this baby that I'm getting off the ground called the integrity game, now it's starting to get more legs and extend into one of my most, passionate interests is baseball. So back to baseball in the parable then and the book and right, let's talk about these avatars. Who is supposed to read this book? Who's going to get the most help from this book? We know anybody can benefit from it because of the overlapping values that we have about resilience and on and on. But more specifically, just baseball specific, you talked about, right? There's the players themselves might benefit from this. There's the parents, of course. I remember when my son was going through it, I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to mess it up, right? There's the high school coaches, there's the travel ball coaches, there's the college recruiting coordinators at each of the schools that people are interested in. Can you talk about these avatars and what's waiting for them in Uncommitted without necessarily ruining the story and the
Yeah, I really think, more so than anyone, this book is going to help parents,
Mhm.
right? I think this day and age, I do individual consulting, right, for players. It's becoming a very popular industry, but recruiting is getting harder and harder. And to be able to, be a resource for parents has been something that I've really tried to dive into in recent months, because they're the ones that are driving the ship, so to speak, right? They are a lot of times trying to help their kids find what they want to do at the next level, right? Are you good enough
Mhm.
to play college baseball? What types of schools are you interested in? How do we get in front of these schools? What do you want to study, right? And all these things that come along with it, right? The social media, the girlfriends, all the stuff that we talk about in the book. But how are the parents really going to guide these kids without being overbearing about it, right? So I think this story really can push parents to understand the right way and the wrong way to do things. I do think it's great for high school kids, right? Because
Yeah.
you're going to see these kids are going through this stuff that not all parents really understand even these days,
Yeah.
because I'm not an old guy, but I'm getting further and further removed from being in the high school world, and I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on in their lives necessarily all the time. So to kind of put some of those anecdotes in the story of real life situations that these kids are going through, it's going to benefit those kids. I think coaches as well,
Yeah.
particularly these high school and travel ball, club ball coaches, right? To again, kind of be aware, right? They're running these big programs, right? They have dozens and dozens, sometimes hundreds and hundreds of kids, and they're not ingrained in their daily lives, right? They see them on the ball field, at the high school level, they'll see them at school, they'll see them in the classroom. But again, they don't necessarily know what's going on behind the scenes for these kids. So to be
Right.
aware of that and think, hey, why can't this kid perform on this day? What's wrong with him? Right. And then take a step back and say, hey, I don't know what's going on in his life, just like he doesn't know what's going on in my life. And to have
Hmm.
compassion, right? And
Right.
understand there's a lot going on in this world. I think it can be beneficial for a lot of different types of people to read this book. Now, if we're talking aside from baseball,
Yeah.
right,
Well.
you're gonna read about one person in this book that does things the right way. And that's what
Hmm.
you strive to be in life, right? Knowing that there's imperfections in everything, but to have those goals and to have someone that can give you guidance, to have someone that can be supportive of you, but not overbearing, right? These are kind of the goals and the dreams that we strive for
Yep.
that are placed, throughout this book within different characters.
Yeah. I have to try to be humble is in this instance because
Don't, no, don't be,
like
don't be.
no, well, you got to understand, like with the original Integrity game, it was clear cut, right? I remember when my brother read it and he texted me. He's like, "What's going on, Terry?" And he was like joking with me, like, "Oh, I get it. Terry's based on you, right?" And I'm like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" And the farthest I got away from that in the integrity game was to say, "Well, you know what? Yeah, Terry's based on me. He's the season ticket holder that teaches the integrity game. He's the one that helped his son, get to the major league level from the whatever he did from a dad's perspective, and now he's going to help this hot dog vendor actually reach his potential." Sure. But the closest I ever got to veering away from identifying so clean and purely with Terry was Luke. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of Luke in all of us.
Yeah.
Right. But in this project, Uncommitted, and I just feel compelled to share the book cover again as I say so. In this project, I could, I was Terry, right? I'm supposed to be Terry. But in this project, I could identify more with Butch or with Doug. I'm like, wait a second, this is my book. I'm Terry, but right now I feel like I identify with Butch quite a bit. Right now, I feel like, oh man, I'm not doing enough to help my kid. My kid's struggling right now, and I feel like I need to help him more. And I don't know if I'm doing enough. I don't want to push him. I don't want to upset him. But I'm a parent. I can't. So I've like it was amazing to me in Uncommitted where I had identity crisis. Joey, can you talk to me about your perspective on how any of the target market segments that we have for this book can identify with any of the other avatars that we've been running through?
Yeah, for the kids, they're going to go through all three of these characters.
Yeah,
Right? You're going to have the times where you're lazy, you're not feeling it, right? You'd rather hang out with your girlfriend than go to the weight room, right? You're
yeah,
going to have times when you see your buddies are succeeding and it's pushing you to do more, right? The adults in this book, right? The kind of the consultant throughout the book, we talk about a consultant advisor that helps high school players find college fits, right? Now, yes, Is that necessary for some families to kind of have someone guide them? Yes. Does it need to be a consultant necessarily? Most of the time, no. I do
Right.
that, right? That's something I do for families, but a lot of the time they just need someone to push them in the right direction, to give them some good information, right? Some
Hmm.
unbiased, truthful information. And I think for a lot of these parents and coaches, they get lost and they find themselves as that coach that's maybe a little too much, right? He's over the top, right? He's narcissistic, right? And it's about him more so than the kids, right? Or you
Hmm.
got the parent that, doesn't really understand that, hey, man, I'm kind of vicariously living through my kid here. I need to step back and be supportive and not push so hard, right? So I think there's a lot of, you're going to read about these different characters and you're going to say, hey, just like you said, Jeff, man, I feel like I'm this guy right now. Oh, now this chapter, I kind of feel like there's a little bit of me in here, right? And we all go through those different avenues, right? We all go through
Yeah.
those avenues as when I was an athlete, when I was a player, there's times where I had a lot of confidence, and there was times when I struggled, right? And there was times when I did things right, and there was times when I did things wrong. So
Yeah.
seeing all these different types of, demeanors and attitudes and types of people throughout the book, you're going to be able to kind of get different flavors throughout different chapters and say, man, I'm this guy right now, and I need, and I want to be different. I want to make this
Hmm.
adjustment right now in my life to help my kid, because this is about him or her. It's not about me.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if I'm surprising you with this question, but this project is one of the other reasons it's exciting for me is I have so much gratitude for how you helped me and my family and my son and the relationship that we've built. And I remember the first time you and I ever talked, and I was, protective and I was ignorant. I didn't know how anything worked. And I get it, AJ's like, hey, this guy wants to talk to me. And I'm like, what? Who called? I was, you call me first. I was an idiot, right? And then, of course, very quickly, within the first couple of minutes of talking with you, I knew, all right, I'm dealing with somebody that feels like he speaks my language. And I remember asking you like 75, 76 questions, right? Not knowing if I was over the top or, and not know, but like all these months later, all these years, now years later, to have it evolve the way it has, I'm going to ask you what I was trying to set up to say was I was very committed in this project to making sure that you were featured, right? That the world knows what you do. You follow. I didn't get sappy with it inside the book anywhere, but I
Mhm.
really kind of, dear world, this guy helped me a great deal. This guy, it is something that I toil with in my head. Am I doing enough? Am I not doing enough? Am I messing up? All these questions didn't have the answers to. And you came along and I was able to be zen and just cheer for him. And just cheer for my son. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how important that is. So I've been committed to making sure that you are the educator, you are the consultant, you are the advisor that, even though it's a co-authored project, I've been very, very careful to make sure you are really the prominent feature in this whole thing. But what I want to ask you right now, though, is there anything that you've learned in the process? Is there anything that you've been surprised by, whether it's collaborating or the book writing process, or did you learn more about the integrity game, or did you learn more about yourself? Did you learn more about how much butt you've really kicked for families over the years and that you took yourself for granted, but now it's like surprising you? Any of that? Like, can you open up a little bit and what have you learned in this process?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've learned more about the integrity game, right? I mean, I read the book, we've talked about it plenty, but the idea of the shoe that you mentioned, right? In so many conversations we've had, right? That the shoe is there, but the laces really are what give it the structural integrity, right?
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
think throughout this project of reading and writing and talking and communicating, not only have I feel like I'm a good communicator, but being able to continue to learn from you and how you manage your team and how you manage our meetings, right? I've
Hmm.
learned so much from that
Oh,
side
wow.
to be able to actually, because I would have said that I'm an expert in that field, but watching you in action makes me feel like I'm definitely not an expert in that field.
Oh, wow.
Has been
Wow.
awesome for me to continue to learn how to be a leader ultimately, right? I have a master's degree in organizational leadership, and that's what I strive to be as a leader for others. And I've also, the main word aside from integrity that has really stuck out to me throughout our time together, especially these last few months, is purpose,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Purpose. What's my purpose?
Well, to support you visually, since you mentioned it, The integrity game, for those of you that don't know, it's a 10-point model, and you can see the 10 points are laid out here by the rings of the shoe. And the laces don't tie the shoe. We tie the laces. But what the laces are doing, as Joe was saying, is gives the shoe structural integrity. So the integrity game, just to be simple about it, it treats these 10 points, which are doors to knock on for a bunch of content in personal professional growth. But when we convert these categories into questions, the integrity game just invites us to have answers to these questions for ourselves. And then to make sure our answers integrate with each other rather than contradict each other. And then advanced play is sharing our answers with an integrity game certified coach and then being held accountable to our answers rather than being blown around like a feather in the wind or being a pawn in somebody else's game. And of course, in the pole position is purpose. That's what you were mentioning just now, Joey. So I just wanted to get that in there real quick, in step with what you were saying, but allow you to continue before we start to like tease it out a little bit. I just wanted to get a little vulnerable and ask what you've learned before we talk about the marketing and how people can get a hold of it and when it's coming out and all the juicy stuff.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean that model right there, right? It kind of says it all. And I think the first and the last are the ones that have really stuck out to me is, I started this recruiting consulting business, right?
Hmm.
And I had a lot of success immediately in the first 2 years, and it was great. But I wasn't getting the personal satisfaction that I thought I would be.
Hmm.
And it really got me to think more about purpose and how many more people maybe can't afford to hire someone one-on-one, right? They don't have the resources. They don't know how to get a hold of someone, whatever it might be. And I start thinking about the word purpose. And this is just this new model I have from a subscription standpoint. I can reach, I have full organizations signing up as, I'm their kind of third party recruiting consultant, and I'm able to reach thousands and thousands of people rather than dozens of people, right? And that purpose is starting to really kick in for me. Like I'm in the midst of it right now, and I'm seeing myself lean more towards, as this kind of grows and grows, thoughts on service and giving and how can I do more in that world. And I come from a world of that, right? That's kind of how my mom and my parents lived their lives. And those two in particular have really stuck out to me. And all of them are important, but I think those two have kind of really stuck out more than others during this process.
Well, we teach the integrity game in a linear way. We introduce, when we're teaching the points, we teach one, then the other, then the other, then the other. So they lay out linear. But service, if you think of it as a bracelet or a ring, commitment, like unbroken, right? Like you follow, then service is what clasps together back with purpose to make the integrity game, constant circular rather than linear and a start and an end. It constantly goes. So we
Mhm.
want to be aware of at all times who we're serving and who wins when we win. And if our cup fills up and spilleth over, who drinks? And we want to be aware of that. And hopefully there's a connection, an integration between who we wish to serve and what we claim to be our purpose. And then the other 8 points in between are the fuel to get us there, right? So I'm in love. I appreciate that. I didn't necessarily. I thought you might write about the book writing process, or you might talk about. You learn more about yourself, about how much you've helped. I don't know. I thought maybe I'm a little humbled with your humility, and I thank you for that. Now, let's talk about marketing because this book is coming, and we have agreed that just like we did with the integrity game 3 years ago, there was a 1 week strike. Remember, like the start of opening day was delayed, so it turned out for me a little magical that we released the integrity game on opening day, April 7th, 2022, which was one day before my 50th birthday. So 3 years ago, I went to Vegas for the weekend for my birthday, locked myself in a hotel room, and I texted out the Amazon link to everybody I knew. The messages would come in, "Happy birthday, Jeff," and I'm like, "All I want for my birthday is for the Integrity Game to be a #1 bestseller." And so I dropped the price to $5 to make it as accessible as possible. Talk about service. I'm going to declare right now that anybody that gets a copy of 20 copies or more of either Uncommitted or the Integrity Game, I will waive my speaker's fee to deliver an Integrity Game keynote or lunch and learn or soft skill training. I'll waive my speaker fee to come in and speak to your organization for an hour. I don't know, Joey, if you would match my pace on that and speak for free, waive your speaker fee for anybody that gets 20 copies or more. And we're going to do the same thing. Yeah, we're going to release it for like $5 or as cheap as we can get it based on how much it costs for Amazon to print it. We want as many people to buy it on opening day weekend. It happens to be, a drum roll, please. March 27th, date reveal, launch date reveal. We did a cover reveal. So we're recording this video right now on March 13th. So we're going to release this book in 14 days, 2 weeks from today. So hopefully this video gets a little bit of play on YouTube. We'll get it to our people right away and get it out there. But let's talk about what you're doing on your website, Joey. Is it all right with you? First of all, you talked about your subscription model, baseball recruiting made simple and affordable. So people would want to go to c3recruits.com. Do you want to talk through what's available for people briefly on the website before I go to the landing page for Uncommitted itself, which I know is not public domain yet?
Yeah, yeah. So, in that membership tab, if you want to scroll over that membership tab, you can kind of see that there are different levels, right? Register account, login. An account is where people will go if they are subscribers, and it actually takes them, they have their own personal profile on my page, right? Now, within that, and again, this is $5 a month for this, which, in the individual consulting world, you're paying 4, 5, 6, 7 grand, right? To
To,
pay.
to to retain a consultant to walk your
Yeah.
to make
Yeah.
phone
So,
calls for you and all of the stuff. Yeah.
yes. So I'm giving a lot of information, right? I do a free podcast a month. And then for my subscribers, they get an additional podcast a month, a monthly recruiting newsletter based on so many different types of topics.
Yep.
And then there's a messaging system on my website where if they are a subscriber, they literally log in with their username and password. They can ask me any recruiting question they want on my website. Okay. And I'm talking people are sending me videos and I'm critiquing videos. They're sending me social media handles. They're sending me, questions about camps, showcases, tournaments. They're sending me questions about metrics. I'm getting all these questions, right? And I'm replying as an unbiased person, right? I don't work for a club organization, travel organization. I don't work for a showcase or tournament organization. I'm just telling these people the truth, right? And I offer this as, individual subscriptions, right? Where people could pay $5 a month. I also have now full organizations are signing up, right? And it
Hmm.
seems like that is growing a lot faster than I thought. So all this stuff is on my site. I have the free podcasts on my site that anybody could view. If you're a subscriber, you log in and you can get that premium content with the additional podcast and the newsletter and the messaging system. So that stuff is all great. The website's been awesome. My website guy, Craig, is just the man.
Yeah, this looks so good. I mean,
Oh, he's crushed it. We've generated a pretty strong relationship these last few months
hmm
because he's done such a great job with the marketing stuff and the website. And I have a lot of teams on board, and I'm excited. Again, not necessarily for myself to feel gratified from doing this. It's about the idea of helping as many people as I possibly can because I know so many people are just completely lost. So the website's great, c3recruits.com. Check it out. Obviously, email me, joey@c3recruits.com if you have questions. But if you want to go to that book page,
yeah, which is right here.
which is right
So,
there, this is
mhm.
where we're going to get rolling, obviously. On Amazon weekend one, those first 4 days, we'd recommend you go on Amazon and buy that book. And, obviously, if you like it and you want to leave us a review, we'd really appreciate it. But on here on the website, it's a little different model.
Yeah, so we're encouraging you're encouraging bulk orders here. 20%, 20, it's like 20 copies or more, people get 50% off. So that's what we should mention. It's going to be $20.25, my cheeky little pricing mechanism, right? Get it while it's hot before it goes up to next year's price, $20.26, right? Just to be super silly. I'm like a walking dad joke, right? But so just anybody out there wants to calculate, it's going to be regular price 2025. So the best deal you can ever get will be getting it for $5 on opening day weekend. Unless you want Joey or myself to come speak to your organization, then come to Joey's website and grab 20 or more for 50% off. On my branding and my website, I'm going to have my own deal and my own landing page or whatever we're going to do. But we want people to go to Amazon. We want to see how high up the bestseller list we can climb. But we also want to come and speak to your organization if you've got 12 to 20 players or more, or people or more, or parents, or right people that can benefit from the messaging that we're trying to share and the help that we're committed to giving people that need it. And I was one of them. I needed the help, Joey, and you helped me. And it's really cool to create this 1+1 = 3 as we put Uncommitted into the world and see where it lands. I'm excited that you've gotten some high profile recognition already. I think that it's safe for us to say that John Savage is writing the foreword for the book, endorsing the project fully. And then you've got head baseball coach from Cathedral Catholic locally, but also associate baseball coach from John Hopkins University and another coach from Lewis and Clark. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, and the list is growing, obviously. As we've sent this book out to people, and they're people that we know. So I totally understand. It's all been advanced praise that, is great, right? But people do understand these are guys in the fire, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, Gary Remiker, he was my high school coach and he's still coaching at Cathedral Catholic High School. And he's seen the transition of when I was going through the process,
Right.
when I was a Division 1 athlete to now, right? When I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't be a Division 1 athlete in today's society. It's a lot harder. And he's seen this years in, understanding that it's very hard and talking to, yeah, Adam Schlenoff, right? Associate head coach, probably future head coach at Johns Hopkins,
Hmm.
right? John Savage obviously is one of the most famous college baseball coaches of all time.
Yeah.
They read this book and it's like, wow, this is what it's like these days. And
W-
it
w-
is actually like this with all the stuff that you talk about. These anecdotes are real.
Yeah. So as we get to last call for this promotional video, which has gone wonderfully, by the way, I'll lead with a little bit of vulnerability. That's one of the pieces of magic about this project. As much as I have to lend to it, and I'm the founder and the author of the Integrity Game, and this is my concept and my ideation and my vision. I'm a little kid. I'm like, what? You got John Savage? I'm the little kid that didn't play Little League. Right. And so I just want to thank you, Joey, for inviting me into your world and seeing the vision and believing that 1 + 1 could equal 3, because it's like the psychologically it's like wonderful for me to get as close to the game as I can, or to be a part of this magic of the whole the D1 athlete, the pursuit of excellence, the coachability, the sacrifices, the grind, the journey. I didn't have that when I was a kid, and I want to be a part of it. I want to lend what I do have to it. I want to be around people that are driven and focused and successful and make my contributions. And so I just want to say thank you as my contribution to Last Call. What about you, Joey? Last Call in promoting Uncommitted.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. This book was your idea, right? This would have never happened without you. And like I mentioned before, the fact that the communicator you are, the leader you are, continues to help me grow. And I want to continue to be I want to be a sponge for my entire life. And you've been a big part of it these last few years, and I'm excited to get this into as many hands as possible and hopefully help as many, players, parents, and coaches as possible.
Well, man, it's amazing. All right, I hope you're feeling the love. If you've been watching the video all the way to the end here, Joey and I love each other and we love you, and we hope that Uncommitted helps you wherever you're at and however you're involved in the college baseball recruiting journey, or your journey towards understanding that we all need trusted outside advisors that can help us along our way. All right, Joey, thanks for spending the time with me. Let's wish each other luck on the most successful Uncommitted and those that get their hands on it. And uh, I don't know, I feel like saying something silly like "Go Padres" or something like
Go
that.
Cubbies.
Okay, all right. You got it, Sammy. We'll see you soon,
All
Joey.
right. See ya.
Later.